Up next for us, we go to a Broncos rushing attack that has also been much better as of late. With the trade of Demaryius Thomas, we tried to figure out who the Broncos were going to lean on. Would it be Courtland Sutton? Would it be the tight end, previously Jeff Hireman, now Matt Lacoste? Or would it be Emmanuel Sanders? And, well, yeah, it's been Emmanuel Sanders, but in reality, it's also been Phillip Lindsay. As Royce Freeman was out with an injury and Devontae Booker was out with ineffectiveness, Phillip Lindsay just dominated snaps, dominated carries, and dominated being successful. He had a second 100-yard game of the season this past week. It was the most rushing yards he's had all year long. Phillip Lindsay's here to stay, and he's certainly someone that you have to like this week.
Yeah, it wasn't just a season high in rushing yardage for Phillip Lindsay. It was also a season high in snap rate. He played 63% of the snaps on Sunday, which is the most he has played all year. And I think that the reason that's important is because Royce Freeman was active for that game, but they still leaned heavily on Phillip Lindsay. Now, I don't think that Lindsay is as safe as Aaron Jones because he is on the road, not as big of a favorite, and he doesn't get as many, reps in the passing game as Jones does right now. But I still think there is a lot to love here. Starting with the matchup against Cincinnati, they're ranked 29th this year against the rush, and they've been terrible recently. They allowed a $115 to Gus Edwards, 104 to Mark Ingram, 85 to Peyton Barber, and also 84 rushing yards last week to Nick Chubb. We saw Nick Chubb get that receiving touchdown as well. Now, Phillip Lindsay, no targets last week, but he did run 12 routes according to Pro Football Focus. He lined up as a wide receiver, actually on 5 of those snaps as well, which to me is super encouraging. They know this guy can do well in the passing game. He did so in college, did so earlier this year too. So I think that although he didn't get any targets last week, I still think he is a guy who will get targets going forward. He had 5 targets 2 weeks ago. That was also a game where Freeman was active. So I think a lot of things line up really well for Phillip Lindsay. We talked about the snap rate, and Gregg, it kind of goes back to a thing we've discussed a couple of times this year with Aaron Jones, with DJ Moore, where talent can win out in the long term. And I think we've seen that with the Broncos. They realize that Lindsay is special. He is second in the league in success rate behind Aaron Jones this year among backs with at least 80 carries, and they've started to commit more to him in recent weeks as a result. So I love the volume, love the matchup here against Cincinnati, a team that seems to be kind of just on the skids right now. And I think that the game flow should be good, too, with Andy Dalton out for Cincinnati. So a lot of things pointing up for Phillip Lindsay. He's 7,000, probably not a cash game play for me because he's on the road and because he does not have as steady of a passing game role as Aaron Jones does. But I still think that he will be on my rosters for tournaments because the upside in his talent to me is far too tempting to pass up.
Phillip Lindsay has earned his spot in this Broncos offense, and as Jim just said, he's played the most snaps he has all year long. And again, I have to credit the Broncos for not just going with the higher drafted player, the higher priced player. They're going with a guy that's been the best, and that's been Phillip Lindsay all season long, and now he's getting his due. You have to like him in this matchup. We love Phillip Lindsay this week.